The Bride They Sold. The Bride They Sold. If you hear this recording, don't look for me. Those were the last words my sister left on my voicemail. By sunrise, she had vanished without a trace. The police called it a missing person case. Our family called it bad luck. I called it murder. Because people don't disappear the day before their wedding unless someone wants them gone. 3 months later, I stood inside the same cathedral, wearing the wedding dress my sister was supposed to wear. Not because I wanted to, because the man she was supposed to marry had made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Lorenzo De Luca, to the world, he was a billionaire philanthropist. To politicians, he was a generous donor. To the newspapers, he was one of the youngest and most powerful businessmen in Europe. But behind closed doors, his name was spoken differently, quietly, fearfully. Lorenzo De Luca was the king of an empire built on blood. "I don't want your love," he had told me the night he appeared at my apartment. "I only want your last name." My last name? "You look enough like your sister." The room had gone silent. "You know what happened to Emma." It wasn't a question. His dark eyes never left mine. I know enough. Every instinct screamed at me to run. Instead, I leaned closer. "What are you hiding?" For the first time, the most dangerous man in Europe smiled, a slow, cold, beautiful smile. "I was hoping you could tell me." That was when I realized something terrifying. He hadn't killed my sister. He was looking for her too. Someone powerful enough to frighten Lorenzo De Luca had taken the woman who was supposed to become his wife. And now they wanted me next. My name is Amelia Carter. This is the story of how I married a monster. Only to discover he wasn't the villain after all. The cathedral doors opened at precisely noon. Every head turned toward me. Hundreds of candles flickered along the stone walls. White roses covered the altar. Somewhere above us, the organ began to play the same song Emma had chosen months earlier. Nothing had been changed, not the flowers, not the music, not even the dress. I felt as though I had stepped into my sister's unfinished life. My father walked beside me, gripping my arm so tightly that his fingers hurt. "Smile," he whispered. I looked at him. "My sister is missing. And today you're saving this family." The words were so cold that I almost stopped walking. But then I saw Lorenzo. He stood at the altar in a black suit, perfectly still, his hands folded in front of him. He didn't smile. He didn't pretend this was a love story. His eyes followed me as I walked down the aisle, studying every step, every breath, every flicker of fear on my face. When I reached him, my father placed my hand in his. Lorenzo's fingers closed around mine, warm, strong, possessive. "Still time to run," he murmured. "Would you let me?" No. At least he was honest. The priest began the ceremony. I barely heard a word. All I could think about was Emma's voicemail. "Don't look for me." I had listened to it more than 100 times. She had sounded frightened but not surprised, as though she had always known someone would come for her. When the priest asked Lorenzo if he took me as his wife, he answered without hesitation, "I do." Then it was my turn. The entire cathedral waited. My father stared at me from the front row. My mother looked down at her hands. Lorenzo's expression didn't change, but his thumb pressed lightly against my wrist. A warning or reassurance? I still didn't know. "I do," I said. The priest declared us husband and wife. Lorenzo lifted my veil. For one terrible second, I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he leaned close enough for only me to hear. "Someone in this cathedral knows where your sister is." My heart stopped. "Who?" "That's what we're going to find out." Then he kissed my cheek and turned toward the crowd. Everyone applauded. Everyone except the woman standing near the back of the cathedral. She wore a dark blue dress and a wide hat that hid most of her face. But I saw her mouth move, 2 words. Wrong sister. Before I could react, she turned and disappeared through a side door. I pulled away from Lorenzo. There was a woman. I saw her. Then go after her. I already sent someone. The calmness in his voice frightened me more than panic would have. You knew she would come? I hoped she would. I stared at him. This wedding was a trap. Yes, and I'm the bait. His eyes met mine. Yes. I slapped him. The sound echoed through the cathedral. The applause died instantly. Lorenzo didn't move. A red mark formed slowly across his cheek. Then, to my astonishment, he smiled. Good, he whispered. Good? Now everyone believes you hate me. I do hate you. That makes it even more convincing. He offered me his arm. Smile, Mrs. De Luca. I wanted to stab him with the decorative pin in my hair. Instead, I placed my hand on his arm and smiled for the cameras. The wedding reception took place at the De Luca estate, a palace of pale stone overlooking the sea. There were armed guards at every gate. Security cameras followed every movement. Guests drank champagne beneath crystal chandeliers while a string quartet played music no one listened to. I stood beside Lorenzo, greeting politicians, businessmen, and women whose diamonds were worth more than my family's house. Every person looked at me for half a second too long. They were comparing me to Emma. I wondered how many of them knew what had happened to her. You're crushing the glass, Lorenzo said. I looked down. The champagne flute in my hand was beginning to crack. Perhaps I'm imagining it's your throat. His mouth almost curved. You're less frightened than your sister. You didn't know Emma. I knew her well enough. My stomach tightened. What does that mean? Before he could answer, a man approached us. He was in his late 50s, silver-haired and elegant with the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. Lorenzo. Lorenzo's body changed immediately. His shoulders remained relaxed, but something dangerous entered his expression. Senator Vale. The man turned to me. And this must be the replacement bride. I held his gaze. My name is Amelia. Of course it is. He lifted my hand and kissed it. His lips barely touched my skin, but I felt a chill move through me. You look very much like Emma. So everyone keeps telling me. She was more delicate. She also had better taste in wedding guests. The senator laughed. Lorenzo didn't. For a moment, Vale's fingers tightened around mine. Then he released me. I hope marriage brings you everything you deserve. As he walked away, I looked at Lorenzo. Who is he? A man who enjoys collecting things that belong to other people. Did he take Emma? I don't know. You suspect him. I suspect everyone, even my family. His silence answered me. I felt something inside my chest collapse. My father? Your father owes more money than he could repay in 10 lifetimes. I knew his business was failing. It isn't failing. It's already dead. I looked across the ballroom. My father was laughing with 2 men near the bar. He appeared relaxed, almost relieved. What does that have to do with Emma? Your father borrowed money from the wrong people. When he couldn't pay it back, he offered something else. I stared at Lorenzo. No. Emma. The room seemed to tilt. You're lying. I wish I were. My father wouldn't sell his daughter. He sold both of you. I stepped back. Lorenzo caught my elbow before I could fall. Don't touch me. If you collapse, everyone will know something is wrong. Something is wrong. Then smile while it destroys you. I hated him for saying it. I hated him more because he was right. So I smiled. Across the room, my father raised his glass to me. I wondered how much money my life had been worth. At midnight, Lorenzo took me upstairs. The master bedroom was larger than my entire apartment. A fire burned in the marble fireplace. The windows overlooked the Black Sea. Rose petals had been scattered across the bed by someone with a cruel sense of humor. I stood near the door. "You can sleep somewhere else." "It's my room." "Then I'll sleep somewhere else." "No." I turned toward him. "You said you didn't want my love." "I don't." "Then what exactly do you want from me?" "The truth." "About Emma?" "About your family." "I know nothing." "I believe you." "Then why marry me?" He removed his jacket and placed it over a chair. "Because the people who took Emma believe you know something she told you." "She told me nothing." "They don't believe that. And now they think I'm protected by you." "No." He loosened his tie. "Now they think you're valuable to me." My blood ran cold. That's worse. Much worse. He crossed the room and stopped in front of me. Up close, he seemed even more dangerous. There was a thin scar near his jaw and another disappearing beneath his collar. "You used me." "Yes. You put me in danger." "You were already in danger. At least here I control the doors." "And who controls you?" Something unreadable passed through his eyes. "No one." A knock sounded. One of Lorenzo's men entered without waiting. He was broad-shouldered with a shaved head and a bruise forming above one eye. The woman from the cathedral escaped. Lorenzo's expression hardened. "How?" "She had help inside the security team." "Who?" "We're checking." The man hesitated. "There's something else." He handed Lorenzo a small white box. No name, no ribbon. Lorenzo opened it. Inside lay a lock of blonde hair tied with a red thread. Emma's hair. Beneath it was a handwritten note. I recognized the writing immediately. My sister's. I grabbed it. "Amelia, you should not have married him." I read the sentence again and again. "She's alive." "Maybe," Lorenzo said. "That's her handwriting." "Handwriting can be copied." "It's hers." I searched inside the box. There was something else beneath the note. A small silver key. I held it up. "Do you recognize this?" "No." I did. It belonged to the music box in Emma's childhood bedroom. The music box had been locked for years. She never told me what was inside. "We need to go to my parents' house." "Not tonight." "She sent me this key." "Or someone wants you to believe she did." "I'm going." Lorenzo stepped in front of the door. "No. You don't own me." "Legally, I'm not sure that's true." I reached for the nearest object, a heavy silver candle holder. He looked at it, then back at me. "If you hit me with that, aim for the left side." "Why?" "The right side was broken last year. It would be unsporting." Despite everything, a laugh almost escaped me. I hated him for that, too. "Move." "No." "Then come with me." He considered it. "Get changed." "Why?" "Because walking into a potential ambush in a wedding dress would be dramatic, but impractical." We arrived at my parents' house 20 minutes later. The front door was unlocked. Every light was off. My father's car was gone. My mother's remained in the driveway. "Stay behind me," Lorenzo said. "I grew up here. And yet you're the one without a gun." He drew a pistol from beneath his coat. Two of his men entered first. The house was silent. Too silent. We found my mother in the kitchen. She was sitting at the table in her evening dress, staring at the wall. A half-empty bottle of wine stood in front of her. "Mom?" She turned slowly. When she saw me, she began to cry. "I'm sorry." My heart sank. "Where is Dad?" "Gone." "What did he do?" She covered her face. Lorenzo placed the gun on the table and sat across from her. Tell her. My mother shook her head. Tell me what? He thought Emma could save us, she whispered. Save you how? Your father owed Senator Vale more money than we could ever repay. So he offered Emma. No. My mother's voice broke. At first, Vale only wanted information. What information? About Lorenzo. I looked at my husband. He was watching my mother with terrifying stillness. Your sister was supposed to marry Lorenzo and report everything she learned, my mother continued. His meetings, his accounts, his private contacts. Emma was spying on him? She didn't want to. Your father forced her. I turned to Lorenzo. You knew? I discovered it 2 weeks before the wedding. And you still plan to marry her? Yes. Why? Because she came to me and confessed. That silenced the room. She told you everything? She told me your father was working for Vale. She said she wanted to help me expose him. My mother began to sob harder. She thought she could fix everything. What happened the night she disappeared? I asked. My mother looked toward the hallway. Your father drove her somewhere. Where? I don't know. You're lying. I swear. I took the silver key from my pocket and ran upstairs. Emma's bedroom looked exactly as she had left it. Her books remained stacked beside the bed. Her perfume still sat on the dresser. A photograph of us as children was pinned to the mirror. The music box stood on the shelf. I inserted the key. The lock clicked. Inside was not jewelry. It was a flash drive. Lorenzo appeared behind me. Give it to me. No. It may contain evidence. It belongs to my sister. And your sister was investigating men who kill people for knowing too much. I closed my fist around the drive. Then you can watch while I open it. We used Emma's old laptop. The flash drive contained dozens of documents, financial records, bank transfers, photographs, names of judges, police officers, and politicians. At the center of everything was Senator Vale. But there was another folder. It was labeled De Luca. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. I opened it. There were photographs of him meeting with government officials and known criminals, shipping documents, secret properties, lists of payments. I looked at him. You really are everything people say. Most rumors are exaggerated. These records aren't. No. Did Emma collect these? Yes. And you trusted her after finding out? No. He looked at the screen. But I wanted to. The admission was so quiet that I almost missed it. A video file appeared at the bottom of the folder, dated the night Emma vanished. I clicked it. My sister appeared on the screen. She was sitting in this very bedroom. Her face was pale. Her eyes were swollen from crying. If Amelia finds this, then something has gone wrong. I stopped breathing. Lorenzo didn't force me into the marriage, Emma continued. Dad did. But Lorenzo knows. He knows about Vale. We were going to expose him together. She looked over her shoulder as though she had heard something. Vale has people everywhere, in the police, in the government, inside Lorenzo's organization. Lorenzo's gaze sharpened. I discovered who the traitor is, Emma said. But I can't say the name here. I'm going to meet Lorenzo tonight and tell him. She held up a folded piece of paper. If I don't make it, the name is hidden where Amelia and I buried our first secret. The video ended. I knew exactly what she meant. When we were children, Emma and I had broken our mother's necklace while playing. Terrified of punishment, we placed the broken necklace inside a glass jar and buried it beneath the old apple tree. We called it our first secret. The garden, I whispered. A gunshot exploded downstairs. Lorenzo pulled me to the floor. Another shot followed, then shouting. He dragged me behind the bed and placed the gun in my hands. Do you know how to use this? No. Point at anyone who comes through that door. What about you? I'll be the one killing them first. He moved toward the hallway. I caught his sleeve. Don't leave me. For 1 second, something changed in his face. Then he touched my cheek. Lock the door. He disappeared. I waited until his footsteps faded. Then I did exactly what he had told me not to do. I followed him. The hallway was empty. Downstairs, one of Lorenzo's guards lay wounded near the entrance. My mother was gone. The kitchen door stood open. I ran outside. Rain had begun to fall. A dark figure was digging beneath the apple tree. Stop! The figure turned. My father. He held a shovel in one hand and a gun in the other. Amelia, what did you do to Emma? Lower the gun. Where is she? He looked older than he had that morning. Smaller, but I saw no regret in his face. Only fear. I tried to save this family. You sold us. I made mistakes. You handed Emma to Vale. No, Emma betrayed him. She was going to destroy everything. So you stopped her? His silence told me enough. I raised the gun. Is she alive? Yes. The word hit me so hard that my knees nearly gave way. Where? I can take you to her. Tell me now. I need the evidence she buried. The jar. He had come for the name of the traitor. Who are you protecting? Not protecting, surviving. A voice came from behind me. You were never very good at either. Lorenzo stood near the garden gate. Blood covered one side of his shirt. I couldn't tell whether it was his. My father pointed the gun at him. You ruined everything. You sold your daughter to a man who would have killed her the moment she stopped being useful. I had no choice. There is always a choice. Easy for a man like you to say. Lorenzo's expression turned cold. A man like me would have paid his own debts. My father fired. Lorenzo threw himself toward me. The bullet struck the tree. I fell into the wet grass, the gun slipping from my hand. Lorenzo fired once. My father collapsed. I screamed and crawled toward him. He was breathing, but blood spread rapidly across his jacket. Where is Emma? I demanded. His eyes found mine. Vale's house on the coast. Which house? The old monastery. Who is the traitor? He gave a weak laugh. You married him. Then his head fell back. For one horrifying second, I thought he meant Lorenzo. But Lorenzo was staring toward the house, at one of his own men. The broad-shouldered guard who had delivered the box at the wedding. The man raised his weapon. Lorenzo pushed me down as bullets tore through the branches. He returned fire. The guard ran toward a car beyond the garden. Stay here, Lorenzo ordered. This time, I obeyed. 3 minutes later, Lorenzo returned alone. His face told me the traitor had escaped. We go to the monastery now, I said. No, I stood. My sister is there. Vale knows we found the drive. He'll be expecting us. Then he'll kill her? He may already have moved her. I am going with or without you. Rain ran down his face. For a moment, we stood in silence beside my wounded father. Then Lorenzo took off his coat and placed it around my shoulders. You stay behind me. I've heard that before. And you ignored me. I'm considering making it a habit. His mouth almost curved. That would make this marriage very exhausting. The old monastery stood on a cliff above the sea. It had been abandoned for decades, but lights burned behind several windows. Lorenzo arrived with 6 armed men. I expected a battle. Instead, the front doors were open. Inside, candles illuminated a long stone corridor. A speaker crackled above us. Welcome, Lorenzo. Senator Vale's voice echoed through the building. You brought the replacement. Lorenzo motioned for his men to spread out. Where is Emma? Vale laughed. still asking the wrong question. A door opened at the end of the corridor. A woman stepped out. Thin, pale, blonde hair cut unevenly at her shoulders. Emma. I ran toward her. Lorenzo shouted my name, but I didn't stop. My sister lifted her face. For a second, she simply stared at me. Then she whispered, "You shouldn't have come." I wrapped my arms around her. She was real, alive. But she didn't hug me back. Emma? Her eyes moved toward Lorenzo. Something was wrong. He saw it too. "Amelia," he said carefully. "Step away from her." Emma pulled a knife from beneath her dress and pressed it against my throat. I froze. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Senator Vale emerged from the shadows behind her. He smiled. "There she is, the loyal daughter." "You did this to her," I said. "No, your sister made a choice." Emma's hand trembled. "Tell her," Vale said. Tears filled my sister's eyes. "I went to Vale the night before the wedding. You were supposed to meet Lorenzo. I changed my mind." "Why?" "Because Lorenzo was going to destroy Dad, destroy all of us. Dad sold you. He was desperate. He chose money over us. He made mistakes." "So you gave Vale the evidence?" "Not all of it. I needed insurance." "The flash drive." She nodded. Vale stepped closer. "Emma has been very useful, but sentimental. She refused to tell me where she hid the final file." "The name of the traitor," Lorenzo said. Vale smiled at him. "Your empire is less loyal than you imagine. You're the one hiding behind a frightened woman. I'm a senator. We call it delegation." Lorenzo's gun remained pointed at Vale, but Emma held the knife against my throat. No one moved. "Give me the drive," Vale said. Lorenzo looked at me. I could see calculation in his eyes. If he surrendered the evidence, Vale would destroy him. If he refused, Emma might kill me. I had spent the entire day believing I was merely a piece in Lorenzo's game. A replacement bride, a convenient name, bait. But the way he looked at me then changed everything. He wasn't thinking about his empire. He was thinking about me. He slowly lowered his gun. "Let her go." Vale's smile widened. The great Lorenzo De Luca surrendering for a woman he married this morning. "Let her go. Give me the drive." Lorenzo reached inside his jacket. Emma's grip tightened. "Don't," I whispered. His eyes stayed on mine. "It isn't worth your life." "Your empire can be rebuilt." Vale laughed. "How touching." Lorenzo removed the flash drive and held it out. That was when Emma moved the knife away from my throat and threw it at Vale. The blade struck him in the shoulder. I dropped to the floor. Gunfire exploded through the monastery. Lorenzo pulled me behind a stone pillar. His men fired toward Vale's guards. Emma crawled toward us. A bullet struck the wall beside her head. I grabbed her hand and pulled her behind the pillar. "You almost cut my throat." I needed him to believe me. "You could have warned me. You were never good at acting." Lorenzo fired twice around the pillar. Family reunion later. Vale ran through a side door. Lorenzo started after him. Emma caught his arm. "The cliff tunnel. He has a boat waiting." We followed. The tunnel descended through the rock beneath the monastery. Waves crashed below us. Vale reached the final steps first, blood soaking his jacket. A speedboat waited in the narrow cove. The traitorous guard stood at the controls. Vale turned and fired. Lorenzo pushed me and Emma against the wall. The bullet struck Lorenzo in the side. He fell. Something inside me broke. I picked up his gun. Vale stared at me. "You won't shoot." My hands shook. He smiled. "You're not like him." "No," I said. "I'm like my sister." I fired. The bullet struck his leg. He collapsed on the steps. The traitor started the boat. Emma grabbed a loose metal chain and threw it into the propeller. The engine screamed, the boat jerked sideways and crashed into the rocks. Lorenzo's men reached us moments later. Vale lay bleeding on the ground. The trader floated unconscious in the water. Lorenzo was still awake, barely. I dropped beside him and pressed my hands against the wound. "Stay with me." He looked at me. "You shot a senator. You married me. Clearly, I make bad decisions." A weak laugh escaped him. Then his eyes closed. "Lorenzo?" He didn't answer. "Lorenzo." He survived. The bullet passed through without striking anything vital, though Lorenzo complained more about the damage to his suit than the wound itself. Senator Vale was arrested. The evidence on Emma's flash drive brought down judges, police officers, bankers, and half a dozen politicians. My father survived too. He was charged with conspiracy, fraud, and aiding in Emma's abduction. My mother entered a private treatment center and refused to speak to any of us. Emma moved into a small house near the sea. She said she needed time to understand which choices had truly been hers. As for me, I remained at the De Luca estate, not because I had nowhere else to go, because every time I tried to leave, I remembered Lorenzo lying beneath the monastery, bleeding while he offered to sacrifice everything for me. 2 weeks after the wedding, I found him in his library. He sat behind a massive desk, reading reports while pretending the bandage beneath his shirt didn't hurt. "I want a divorce," I said. He looked up slowly. "No." "You can't simply say no." I just did. "Our marriage was a trap, a successful one. You used me as bait. And you shot a senator. Neither of us behaved perfectly." I placed the marriage certificate on his desk. "You said you didn't want my love." I lied. The words stopped me. Lorenzo stood. For the first time since I had met him, he looked uncertain. It was almost frightening. "I didn't know you when I came to your apartment," he said. "You were a way to draw Vale out, a way to find Emma. And now? Now you're the woman who walked into a cathedral knowing she might die. The woman who followed me into a gunfight after I told her to stay upstairs. The woman who shot a senator because he shot me." I aimed for his leg. "You need practice." I tried not to smile. He came closer. "You don't have to stay. You just refused to divorce me." That was before I began this extremely generous speech. Generous? I admitted uncertainty. It will not happen often. I looked at him for a long moment. "Did you love Emma?" "No." "Did she love you?" "No. She wanted to trust me. That's different." "And me?" His gaze dropped to my mouth. "You terrify me." That isn't an answer. For a man like me, it is. I should have left. Instead, I kissed him. Not because he was innocent. He wasn't. Lorenzo De Luca had built an empire with secrets, threats, and blood. He was dangerous, controlling, infuriating. But he had never pretended to be anything else. The real monsters had been the people who smiled while selling their own children. Lorenzo kissed me as though he had been waiting his entire life to lose control. For one moment, there were no missing sisters, no debts, no lies. Only him, only me, only the strange, impossible marriage that had begun as a trap. Then the telephone on his desk rang. Lorenzo ignored it. It rang again, and again. Finally, he pulled away and answered. His expression changed immediately. "What happened?" He listened in silence. Then he looked at me. "Who is it?" I asked. He lowered the phone. "The traitor escaped from police custody." "The man from the monastery?" "Yes." "What does he want?" Lorenzo's eyes became cold. "He left a message." My skin prickled. What message? Lorenzo turned the speaker on. A recorded voice filled the library. The traitor's voice. Calm, almost amused. You found the bride we took. A pause. But you never asked why we needed one. The recording crackled. Then a woman spoke. A woman whose voice sounded exactly like mine. Hello, Amelia. I stopped breathing. My name is Clara. Another pause. And I'm your sister, too. The message ended. Lorenzo and I stared at each other. Emma and I had always believed we were two sisters. But somewhere in the darkness, another woman was waiting. A woman with my voice. A woman my parents had erased, and she had just declared war on the De Luca family. My name is Amelia Carter De Luca. I married a monster to find my missing sister. I never imagined I would discover another one, or that she might be far more dangerous than the man I married. The end.